Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? One of the big storylines that I'm going to be watching in this game is something we talked about on Monday, and that's if Sean Payton is going to take the handcuffs off of Jameis Winston. Jameis, so far in this season, we've been through the numbers and you know them by now, but Jameis so far this year has not attempted more than 23 passes in a game. That was this past weekend against New York. He attempted 20 against Green Bay, 22 against Carolina, 21 against New England, and 23 against the Giants. Eventually, Sean Payton is going to have to take the reins, the handcuffs off of Jameis and give him the reins to the offense and trust him to be able to open things up more. Is this the weekend when maybe we see that? Jameis met with the media and was asked that question about this narrative that Sean Payton doesn't trust him with the offense.
Well, I know I trust him with everything I got, and I'm getting adjusted to his system. Like this is his team. He's been here for a long amount of time, so I have to fit in. When you've had so much success as a head coach, with your offense, with the way that you do things, I'm getting adjusted to that, and I've been loving it. I've been loving how efficient we've been being. I've been loving it, having a lot off my plate, but obviously I want more, but that has to be earned, and week by week, I'm gonna have opportunity to earn it.
Jameis says all the right things, and that's encouraging. It is, because if the immature player that many feared was coming to New Orleans was still there, you might hear a little bit more of the eating a W Jameis who's arguing for more control. But he said all the right things there. Sean Payton's offense, I trust him. I got to earn more. And he did elaborate a bit more on, with a follow-up, about earning that trust from Sean Payton. Give a listen.
This man has been here for 16 plus years, and he's been coaching Drew Brees, a Hall of Fame quarterback. Like, our relationship in terms of like handing me over the keys, like this is something that he just didn't hand over the keys to Drew in his first 4 games. Like, this is a relationship that's going to be built, and obviously as we find more of an identity offensively, we're going to have different things that, like, he trusts me more in this situation than that situation, right? That's how football works. That's like me with a receiver. Like, I'm going to trust, a certain receiver in this situation versus that situation. So it's really just a feel, because he's our play caller too. And when you got a guy like Alvin Kamara, and when you got trust in this dominant defense that we've had here, you have to be that way. You know what I'm saying? You got to trust your gut. And he's been really good at doing that. So like I said, like, I trust him. So I know that's gonna come.
So when Jameis said Sean Payton didn't give Drew Brees the keys after 4 games, I was interested. Now I know how Drew Brees' tenure in New Orleans started. They got the win week 1 against Cleveland on the road. They got the win week 2 against Green Bay on the road. Then they came home for the Monday Night Football, the Dome, coming against Atlanta, and won that game before losing week 4 at Carolina. That was the first 4 games. They started 3-0. Here were Drew Brees' stat lines. Ready? A 19-14 win over Cleveland. Brees was 16 of 30 for 170 with a touchdown and a pick. Not exactly Hall of Fame trajectory, although 30 attempts. Week 2 at Green Bay, they win 34-27. Brees was 26 of 41. 2 touchdowns and a pick. Threw for 353 yards that day, by the way. Week 3, the Dome coming. Brees was 20 of 28 for 191. Did not throw a touchdown or an interception. And then the week 4, Carolina was the loss, 21-18. It didn't go well. But he was 28 of 38 for 349, 1 touchdown, and no scores. So through 4 weeks, Drew Brees had thrown 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. And in 2 of his first 4 starts, he threw for under 200 yards. Now, we did have the 2 games where he went for over 300 yards, so the averages balance out. But there is some evidence there to suggest that Sean Payton was still feeling his way with Drew Brees back in 2006. Now, by the time you got through that season, and really about the halfway point, whenever they played Baltimore. That was a loss at home. But in 2006, here's Brees' consecutive yards per game at that point. 383, 314, 398, 510, 349. They beat San Francisco and he only threw for 186. But then 384, 207, 132, and then 46, where the last game against Carolina, where he played the beginning of the game and it was pulled. But it really was around week 7 where you saw this thing blossom back in 2006. Now, I'm not trying to draw a direct parallel. Okay, I'm not trying to say Jameis is going to be Drew, but we had 2 years ago when your boy started lobbying for the Saints to sign Jameis, I did talk a lot about the parallels in their careers. High draft pick, franchise went a different direction. They were looking for a new spot, physically still able in their prime, all that stuff. That makes a lot of sense, right? A lot of those parallels were there. It's hard to remember Drew Brees as the castaway from San Diego, but he was there, and it was only about week 7 that it really blossomed in the loss to Baltimore. And then after that, boom, they started to hit their stride offensively with Drew Brees and with Sean Payton calling plays. So maybe, now that 510-yard game was the loss to Cincinnati, 31-16. So some of those were days where Sean didn't necessarily trust the running game and they just tried to throw it too much. So he's matured as a play caller to learn how to win and not just heavily relying on the passing game. But, and as you saw, so far in the Saints' 2 wins this year. But it is interesting because we've circled week 7 on this schedule, haven't we? Can they get through 5 games above 500, get healthy after the open date, after the bye in week 6, and go to Seattle week 7? It's just funny how it corresponds and correlates to that year with Drew Brees. So Jameis referencing Drew Brees through his first 4 games in this offense back in 2006, didn't have the keys to the car. In some respects, he's not wrong. And the timeline of when it clicked for Drew in New Orleans back in 2006 may well be the exact part of the schedule we've been circling for a while, when the Saints are likely to get Mike Thomas off of PUP, when they're probably going to get Will Lutz back at that point, and Tre'Quan. They're going to be healthier again. So that could be something. Just file away. Maybe, just maybe, we come back to that at some point a bit later here in the season and make those comparisons again. But Jameis he's saying the right things. He's doing the right things. He's been a team guy. For those that wondered about him or worried about him just derailing the franchise and being self-centered, it hasn't happened. He's done everything right. Let's see as they start to figure each other out like dance partners, Sean and Jameis, and getting a vibe and a flow of play calling. And when they get healthy as well, maybe you start to see this offense blossom. Look forward to around week 7. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.